to ensure that they have all the professional development that they need. You guys have a great professional developer right over there, Mr. Michael. And I'm excited to work with him because he's offering a lot of input and taking the lead in some of this. So I'm very excited to be a part of it. Having said that, we're going to talk about inclement weather because although it's gorgeous out today, it may not be tomorrow. Welcome to St. Louis. So I'd like to tell just a little bit about myself. When I was 16, I lived in Florida. I happened to live in Cape Coral, Florida, that got wiped out. That's where I went to high school. I learned how to drive down there. The worst thing you had to worry about was in June and July. And that was not hurricanes. It was the rain. It always rained between 1 and 3. It would rain so hard that you could not see the front of your car. And the way you're driving, and all of a sudden it pours down like that, you have to stop because you don't know where you're at. And in Florida, if you drive, you might. Look, are you co-signing? Okay. You have to slow down because you might end up in a canal. They don't do that ditches down there, they're canal. Sharks, manatees, all that stuff in there. I don't need to be in there. So that's where I learned to drive at the very beginning. So that was the perfect place to drive. When I was 19, my dad decided he wanted to go into seminary. So my whole family moved from Florida to Texas. We lived in Texas for 2 years. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Texas weather, but it's a little bit more mild than here. In Florida, when we moved to Florida, we could wear shorts at Christmas time. That just blew my mind. We could go swimming in the pool because it was 65 degrees in the pool. But Floridians act like that's the worst thing in the world. We came from California and New York, so 65 degrees was a nice, tepid little temperature. You can go swimming. So then we moved to Texas, and Texas gets, you don't have to have a big jacket. Every now and then, though, they get a little weather, and then people start to die because they just don't know how to drive with a little snow. They get a lot of sleet, and they get a little bit of ice, but for the most part, not much. So 2 years I spent. By the time I was 21, my dad decided he had a church up in South Dakota. Love South Dakota. Got up there. Mall was an hour away. An hour away by interstate, doing 75 miles an hour. It was so cold up there that it gets below 0. And when it snows good 2, 3, 4 feet. Got up there and I was coming into the wintertime and I saw it had just snowed. And there was a news report about a family that had drove their vehicle into the back of a snowplow and killed everybody. Now, I'm from Florida and I'm from Texas, so I could see everything on the road. So I just could not understand for the life of me how somebody did not see a semi kind of truck, like a big, their snowplows are huge. I don't know how they couldn't see it. They drove right in the back of it. Fast forward 2 weeks when I'm coming home in the evening time at night, and I'm doing 55, and it had just snowed, and the snow was not melted, so it was fluffy. When you drive with fluffy snow, it gets makes a nice cool looking thing behind you. You're cool and everything. Doing 55, sides of the roads are about 4 feet, 3 feet of snow. Semi comes by. I don't think anything of it. I'm driving. Semi comes by me. I can't see nothing. It brought all this snow behind it, and I couldn't see anything. 55 miles an hour in my car on the interstate, going under a bridge. And this guy goes by me and I'm freaking out because I never experienced anything like this. And I'm like, holy cow. So I just sat like this because I'm like, if I turn, I'm going to end up in the ditch and hit the bridge. So I was snowblind for a good 15 seconds. And when I finally came came to a stop because I had to stop because my car moved into the middle median. I was in about 3 or 4 feet of snow, and in order to get out of my car, I had to roll the window down and crawl out the window. So my story is this: I've lived in all kinds of weather. Florida weather, Texas weather, really bad weather, but there ain't no weather like St. Louis weather. 1 minute, it's snowing like the devil, can't see nothing. 4 hours later, you and the family at the arch like you know. One area is beautiful. Down in Acton, it's frozen. It is the craziest weather that I've ever seen. And I've lived all over the United States, except for up in the Washington and Oregon area. Lived in North Coast, South Dakota, California, New York, Texas, Louisiana, and Florida, Wyoming, Illinois, Missouri. Those are places I live. And you've never seen anything like St. Louis weather. It is so dangerous because it changes so quickly. And because all the conditions of snow, sleet, frozen rain, ice, all that stuff happens in St. Louis. So we really need to be a little bit aware of the temperature that's going to be happening Saturday. Saturday, it's going to be what? 34 degrees is the high. It's supposed to also maybe rain a little bit. The average temperatures for the month in December through February, it stays between 39 and 45. The lows are between 20 and 24. What cracks me up about this is you would think that's the worst time. My opinion is the worst time for weather in St. Louis is in April, March and April, because that's when you think everything's wonderful. The snow comes out, you know, the sun comes out, the buds start coming out, and 2 weeks later, you got a severe weather report going on, and you weren't prepared for it. In St. Louis, we have snow, we have sleet, we have freezing rain, and we have rain. What's the difference between the 3 or 4 of those? Rain is rain. Freezing rain is like that ice you get from QT, the good ice. You know what I'm talking about? I see y'all going and get the cups full of ice. I'm like, what'd you get that for? Oh, this is the good ice. I'm like, okay, it's like good ice. It's not snow, it's just frozen rain. It's like an ice cube, a little baby ice cube. Then you move into sleet. And sleet is droplets frozen with ice with a little bit of snow mixed in there. It's the slushy stuff that sticks on your windshield wipers, sticks on your car, terrible stuff. And then you have snowflakes, which never seem to melt, but they do. So those are kind of winter precipitation that you can see within an hour in St. Louis. Just give it a minute because it's going to change. So what I found is this, as I started to look at what are, we talked in the past about advisory. There's the watch, warning, and advisory. And when I was looking for the weather, I was like, I'm going to pull up St. Louis advisory. And as I was pulling it up, I looked at other places about advisory. Like there was one for Illinois, there was one for South Dakota, there was one for Oregon, and one for Idaho. And the crazy thing is that they're all different because it's geared to the environment that you live in. So for St. Louis, some of the outlooks that we have are hazardous weather outlook. A winter weather advisory is just mean that it's going to snow, potentially 1 to 2 inches of snow, and it might have a little freezing rain. It's not much. It's just, to me, it's like, hold on, because it could either be worse or it could not happen at all. But usually winter advisories are the precipitation of something that's coming. Then we have a winter storm warning. That's when schools start looking at maybe we should think about maybe delaying school a little bit. If it's going to happen at night, we want to give the streets, the counties and cities, we want to give the districts enough time to remove some of that snow. Then we move into blizzard warnings. We do get blizzards here. Then we have snow squall warnings. Does anybody, I told you about a squall. A squall is when we had squalls in Florida. That's where the rain comes so hard you can't see. In St. Louis, a squall is when that snow is powdery, and it doesn't need to be snowing. It just needs to have a lot of wind. That wind picks up that snow and makes it so it's impossible to see. You guys know what I'm talking about with that? That's the worst kind. I look at those interstate accidents where you see those huge pileups, and it's the squalls because those big semis come by and big cars come by, and it brings that snow up, and people can't see a quarter mile in front of them, and when they do, it's just too late. So squalls are really important to pay attention to because it covers what's going on at least a quarter of a mile in front of you. Wind chill advisories, when we also start looking at, should we let these kids go to school? If it gets below 0, we usually keep our students home. I know that for SSD schools, we don't want our kids out in their wheelchairs in that kind of weather because we can't ensure that their parents always there to pick them up. You know that. It's heartbreaking when you get to a bus stop, it's 10 below with a wind chill of 10 below and no one's there to get the kid. And you're like, what do? I can't let him come out. Oh, my mom said she'll, meet me at the door. No, I can't let you meet me at the door because I don't know what happens between here and your door. We're responsible. So wind chill warning. So I want to just give you a couple things to think about in your car. You folks, I don't know how you do it. I have all the admiration for you because if I can get my butt out of bed by 7, I'm lucky. Some of you guys are up at 3:30. Some of you are up at 4. Some of you are on the road to work before you even get to notice that work has been called off. So that means that you're out there driving in crappy weather, right? Schools really do try to do their best at alerting people at the earliest possible time, but sometimes it's not early enough for you guys. So what I would say for you is this: be prepared. You can get in your car and drive and slide off the road, and then 5 minutes later, a plow comes by and buries your car, and nobody even knows you're there. And you're 200 yards from a QT. You can't get out of your car because it's snowed in. So the idea is to have a preparedness kit in your car. And you don't have to have all of this because we do live in a pretty civilized area. If you live out in the country, I'd say get this and then double it up a little bit. But you want to make sure your cell phone's always charged up. You want to make sure that you have blankets and sleeping bags. Make sure you look for blankets that have I don't know the exact word for it, but you need to make sure that they work well for cold temperatures. Sometimes the thinnest bags of blankets are the best blankets for keeping that insulation. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Insulation. How are they insulated? Are they for below 0 weather? Because you can get the biggest, thickest blanket and it may not keep you warm at all. So make sure you're looking at what types of blankets to get should you be caught out in the cold. Flashlight. You don't want to use your battery up on your phone with a flashlight. If you're up in the morning in the wintertime, and you're also out past 5, and in the wintertime in St. Louis, it's dark now. Make sure you have a first aid kit. There is a knife. We're going to come back tonight because the knife is dependent on the caloric food. You want to make sure you have like a candy bar or MRE in your car. MRE is those military ration things. It's like a little kit of food. Have something in there that gives you a lot of calories. Now you say, why did you skip a night? Well, if you have 1 candy bar in the car and there's 3 of you, someone's gonna get shanked. So you gotta have enough. Because I've got 1 candy bar and 3 people, and I'm not sharing. All right? You older than me, you got to die first. That's how it goes. So you need that knife, unless you get 3 candy bars. So when you get a car and there's 3 people, like, okay, we don't need a knife, I got 3 candy bars. 4th person comes, all right, if something happens, but truly the knife is for if you are caught in your seat and your seatbelt is there and you can't get out, you'd have to cut that seatbelt. There are things that you have to cut sometimes to get out of a situation. And you want to make sure you have some type of utility device in there to help you get released from a seatbelt, or your clothing might be caught in something, your jeans might be caught in something. Water, make sure that you have some type of water. This might mean that you bring the water with you in the morning because it could be frozen if you leave it in there overnight. So always grab a bottle of water and take it with you. You don't want to eat the snow. We'll talk about that in a minute, but you need water. You need extra clothing because if you try to get out of your car and it's really wet, or you get cold and you realize you can't get up the bank, you can't get out onto a place where people can see you, you need to change those clothes because they're probably stuck with snow. So keeping snow on you is going to create hypothermia, and hypothermia happens fast, and it happens in a way that kind of makes you feel like you're tired. Not good. A large empty can, a plastic cover with tissues and paper towels for sanitary purpose. Sanitary purpose. You gotta go. Now, personally, I would probably want to go, because you know it's too cold. But you gotta go. So my thought is just have a container to keep all this stuff in. As tempting as they may be, don't get in there and get the candy bar out at any time. Put that candy bar in there and leave it in there. Put whatever food you have in there and don't use it as a snack to go to. Because the chance might be that you don't replenish it. A small can and waterproof matches to melt snow. Someone said also have a little candle. Candle gives off a lot of heat. Okay, so candles are also important to have. A sack of sand. Why would you have a sack of sand in your car? Get that weight. Helps with traction. That's why they tell you to fill up your car. Some people think, oh, you have to fill it up because the gas line will freeze. No, gas line won't freeze. But unless it's extremely, extremely cold. But they want that weight of the gas, a full tank in the car to help that traction. So if you have a light car, like a lot of these new electric cars can't weigh too much, you're going to need to figure out how to put some weight in that car to keep it closer to the ground. Windshield scraper, shovel, toolkit, tow ropes, booster cables, water container, compass. Those are all things I think about if you were like in the tundra. You know, a compass. Where am I going with a compass? So those are things that you might need if you're like in a rural area and you are not sure where things are at. So get yourself a car preparedness kit. You can even make a small one for yourself or on the bus, because last year or 2 years ago, we had a bus that was stuck overnight. The driver was stuck overnight. So what do you do if you're stranded? So what if something happens? It used to be everybody had an antenna, so this is old stuff. We don't have antennas anymore on our cars. It used to be you would tie something to it. If the weather's not too bad, you lift your hood up of your engine, then you can put a little tag on that. Hopefully that will never happen to you where you have to be stranded. But if you have an emergency kit, then you put some flares out, especially if you're in the road. If you're stranded in the road, you know, I don't know at this point what to tell you would be best practice. But because sometimes I think get out of the car, and then I see people get out of the car, and you know, the cars crash and people get squished, and then they stay in the car, and then they sit in my head. I don't know what the answer is. But I think that you're intuitively smart, you figure it out and you do what you think you need to. But if you have something that you can put out to let people know that you're stranded, that's always good. Remove anything you need from the trunk to the passenger area. You don't need to be crawling through things. You may not even be able to get to the trunk. So when you are going out in the weather, going out into your car in the weather's bad, grab your preparedness kit and put it in the front seat with you, right? Wrap your entire body, including your head, in an extra blanket. I need to look it up. That story is if you had a choice between a sweater and a hat, you want to have a hat because all the heat escapes from the top of your head. I suggest some people have more than one hat. Sony used like 2 or 3 hats. Yeah. Hey, calm down there, Miss Bonnet. Stay awake. If you're in your car and you're getting cold and it's been a while, you need to stay awake because that need for sleep might be because of hypothermia. And if you fall asleep, say hi to Jesus for me. And if you go somewhere else, don't look for me. You need to stay awake. And not only do you need to stay awake, you need to be moving your arms. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. You don't want to run your car the entire time. First of all, something could have happened to the engine and run the entire time might be making it ready to stall. So if you run it for 10 minutes, keep the engine block warm, which keeps the car warm. Let that heater come on in the car a little bit, then turn it off. You also don't want to asphyxiate yourself. It could be that you pop a pipe or something and that exhaust is coming up in through the car. So make sure that you don't run it all the time. As you sit in your car, remember, keep your hands moving, your arms moving. That'll keep you awake. That'll keep the warmth in your arms, keep you moving and grooving. And then don't eat unmelted snow, okay? Because eating unmelted snow means that it's below 32 degrees and that drops the temperature in your body and that causes hypothermia. Huddle with other people to keep warm. Now, I think like this, if I had to do this, I would think about 3 people I wouldn't mind huddling with. To make sure that they're with me. Okay? You sit right here. All right, we're gonna huddle. Come on, people. Make sure you got someone cute next to you if you have to huddle. If not, put it to your back. Put your back up. These are all suggestions for you to do to take care of yourself before you even get to work. Any questions about preparedness before you even get to work? All right, now Michael's going to talk a little bit about what to do if you're on the bus. But before that, there is a video, correct? Correct. All right. 2 seconds.
Snow is not silent. It's worse. The good news is that when snow accumulates on the road, the transportation department works hard and helps out. They plow and lay down salt and sand. They set up detours around impassable roads. Even with all their preventative measures, snow reduces your traction up to 75%, which will greatly increase the likelihood of sliding or getting into an accident. You'll need to be sure you accelerate slowly and brake gradually to maintain control and avoid sliding, and never use cruise control. To avoid running into the cars in front of you, increase your following distance to at least 6 seconds. You'll need the extra distance because it'll take you longer to stop. You must reduce your speed by 50%. Cut it in half. So if the speed limit's 40 miles per hour, how fast should you go in the snow? I would go a maximum of 20 miles an hour and make sure my following distance is 6 seconds. Yes, and just like in the rain, you want to use both your windshield wipers and the defroster to clear snow and fog off your windshield. Of course, there's always the possibility that snow will turn into freezing rain.
Oh yeah, how's freezing rain going to affect my traction?
Ice and sleet are very dangerous to drive in. Your traction is reduced by 85 to 95%, and sometimes you don't even get that much. You need to take extra caution to accelerate slowly and brake very gradually. And you'll need to increase your following distance to at least 7 seconds to accommodate the extra distance that's required to stop. You need to slow down enough to stop safely within your following distance. In the ice, that's reducing your speed by 66%. That's 2/3, meaning if the speed limit's 60, you go 20. And once again, you need the most visibility you can get. So use the defroster and your wipers. In the ice and snow, if you start to skid, gently turn the wheel into the skid, which is normally the direction you want the bus to go. Ease your foot off the accelerator and do not use the brakes until you're straightened out. When you do, use the brakes gently and don't panic. The bus will eventually come out of the skid. If the wheels lock up and you start to slide, come off and then back on the brakes so the wheels start to turn and pump the brakes. This will stop you sooner than continuing to skid. There are a number of other potential hazards from snow. First, your visibility may be reduced by wheel spray. This will be reduced if you stay back at least 6 seconds and do not drive at the rear inside of other vehicles. Avoid this spray. Second, the bus wheels may be pulled to one side by slush or snow that is deeper on the one side than the other. Be prepared for this and compensate for it by holding the steering wheel firmly. Third, there will be snow plows out and about and you need to stay clear of them. Never overtake a snow plow. Stay well behind it at least 6 seconds to avoid any spray. Fourth, often snow will build up in the center of your lane as the wheels clear it on either side. This becomes a problem when you have to drive across it to change lanes or turn. Slow down and cross it slowly, as it will pull your wheels to one side. Fifth, blowing snow and snow blindness can restrict your vision. Slow down And if the visibility is really bad, stop in a safe place and wait until it clears up. Finally, be careful if driving in the dark with large snowflakes falling. They can really distort your view. Even worse than snow is ice, especially black ice. Bridges freeze before the road, so watch out for this and allow for it. Slow down for bridges and try not to brake as you cross bridges and do not change direction. Remember, bad weather doesn't cause accidents. People do. In safety best practices, we defined accidents as unplanned events that disrupt activity, involve or affect people, and are caused. Don't take risks. Adjust to the special weather conditions by slowing down and leaving more space. And never use the engine retarder or engine brake in adverse weather.
All right, guys, so the video and what Jerry talked about earlier, just some tips for winter driving. Position of a school bus driver and monitor are very responsible job. We are trusted with the care of dozens of children that don't belong to us, right? So it's our parents depend on our team to be safe, cautious, reliable, and trustworthy. Extra care must be taken when driving in winter weather, because conditions could be more difficult than ideal weather, right? We strive to maintain consistent time for picking up students. Riders will be more likely to be ready on time as the driver maintains consistent route times. However, in inclement weather, anytime really, but especially in inclement weather, if you're late, we can explain that. If you're in the middle of an accident because something you did caused it, it's not going to be as easy to explain, right? So obviously, the worse the weather is, the slower you want to drive. When weather conditions reduce visibility, the team, driver and monitor, are challenged to see all objects. During a pre-trip, the driver should take extra time to examine headlights, tail and brake lights, student warning and loading lights, and turn signals. If needed, the driver should clean these lenses so the bus can be clearly seen by other drivers. Clean the lens covers to allow the driver to see better in low light conditions as well. When the driver has their monitor on a bus, part of the reason that Kevin and Robin talked about, if the bus is moving, the phones are put up, you have an extra set of eyes, you can be looking for potential hazards while the driver's driving as well. When roads are wet and icy, it's important to brake smoothly. If the bus is equipped with traction control, place the control switch in track enabled position. Inspect the microblades and windshield washer reservoir during the your wipers will be very important in keeping good visibility. If you have worn wiper blades or no wiper fluid, it can make it more difficult to see if driving in a snowstorm. So drive slowly, be especially alert on snow-covered roads. Can anybody tell me when most of the accidents happen? What kind of weather in general?
Sunny.
Yeah. Anybody want to take guesses why?
Somewhere.
You're complacent. It's beautiful weather. You're thinking about what you're going to do after work or what park you're going to visit or whatever, and you're not paying attention to what you're doing. So when inclement weather is happening, then you're more alert, and that's good. We want you to be more alert. We don't want you to ever be complacent. But reduce your speed and increase your following distance when you're driving. You'll hear me say that a lot. You may even hear it on the radio when it's wet or snowy outside. I may come on and say, remember guys, reduce your speed and increase your following distance. Reducing your speed, increasing your following distance gives you a lot more time to adjust to things that happen in front of you, right? So the defroster should be used whenever necessary to clear the windshield and the windows. This will help maintain good visibility. Do not store anything on a dash, as this could prohibit or inhibit the function of the defroster. Go out here and look in the lot out here. I counted, I think 6 or 7 this morning, just along one line. It's got stuff on the dash, and we want to be careful of that, because if you're inhibiting the defroster, it's not going to clean the windows off. And you know, some of these buses, even if you don't have anything on the dash, take long enough to clear off, or even get them all the way clear. We don't want to do anything to add to that, right? Be very careful at intersections and railroad crossings. Don't assume other drivers can or will stop. We all know as much as we're on the road that in ideal weather, you still have to cover your brake going through an intersection. You never know when someone's going to blow that stop light. Right?
They do it all the time.
Yep. Brake early and maintain proper following distance, reminding the bus is going to need greater stopping distance than what is needed in ideal weather conditions. Be aware of other drivers. You should always be defensive driver, but during weather, we want you to be even more defensive. Again, decrease your speed and increase your following distance. Keep a safe driving distance between you and other vehicles. The distance to stop on a wet or icy roadway is 3 to 9 times greater than on dry roads. We talked about bridges and overpasses. They get icy and slip before regular roads do. Excuse me. So be especially careful when temperatures drop below freezing. Slow down very early for intersections, downgrades, and curves. Again, intersections where you cover your brake, you actually want to start slowing down, not just cover your brake in inclement weather. Use smooth start when pulling away. This will help prevent spinning tires. Also start slowing down earlier. When changing lanes, give yourself enough time to move into the next lane safely. When we go through training, we tell our trainees that you want to give at least 4 seconds. That's what the CDL manual tells you. So you want to hit your turn signal, and I say just listen for the 4 clicks before you start moving over. Inclement weather, you probably want to give it longer, right? Because you don't, so all these big trucks and 4-wheel drive that think they're not going to get stuck or they can't get stuck, come flying by you. You may not see them. You may have all that tire spray behind you, and then all of a sudden they're there. When attempting to go under an overpass, be mindful of ice hanging or snow-packed roads. We also say don't try to go under anything less than 12 feet tall, so the clearance height. But snow-packed roads or ice that's hanging down, that may cause you to make contact. You may not realize how much snow is on the ground, so that 12 feet that you think you have may actually be 9 feet. And your bus is like 9 foot 6 inches tall, usually most of them. So you gotta be cognizant of that as well. Beware of vehicles on the overpass getting slush and sending it over the edge onto your windshield. You hear every winter, actually, when we had this torrential rain, was it July? I heard it on the radio a couple times where semi would go over an overpass and throw all the water over, and it would blind the drivers going underneath, and there was multiple accidents. I think there was one guy that actually it was a fatality. So you got to be careful of that. So when inclement weather or other emergency situations occur, it may be necessary for special school districts to cancel or close school early. In the event of inclement weather, the superintendent will decide to close school based on several factors, including student safety, bus transportation, road conditions, and wind chill temperature. Kenny's not here today, but he was at the meeting itself, and he took part in a meeting with other with other leaders, other school districts, as well as MoDOT. And there's some factors that they're considering, thinking that, which cause them to think this is gonna be a wetter and colder winter. The line has kind of moved a little bit, they said, they think, they can't guarantee it, but before I-70 was like the line where up here it might be freezing or snowing real hard, below it may not, or vice versa. Now they're thinking that line may have moved down to like 44. So with the Farmer's Almanac, there's an old and a new Farmer's Almanac. They're both saying the same thing as far as colder, wetter winter. With the woolly worms, being, I don't know if you've seen them, but they're like black. And that's, I don't know, is it an old wives' tale or what, but I've seen them. The persimmons, if you cut them open and look at them, you see spoons. So all the signs that everybody says to look for are there.
My knee hurts too. My knee hurts.
Sorry? Can't hear you. When you cut open a persimmon, and then there's like a shape of a spoon in there. Also, on that same line, MoDOT did express concern. There's 200 routes in the St. Louis, Missouri metro area that they use, that they have to cover and remove snow. Well, there's 70 drivers short. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you make it more difficult, right?
No
He said,
problem.
they asked him to stick some of the drivers over to drive snowplow. He said, "We don't want you driving snowplow when it comes to work."
You and I both know which areas gonna be cleared and which ones not.
So say the weather is really bad, and you can't get somebody to their destination. Do you take them back to school or what happens?
It's a case by case situation. You'll call in to dispatch and say, hey, I can't get down this road because it's not been plowed. And they'll give you advice on what to do. They'll try to call a parent, have them come up to you. They'll figure things out.
Good question.
We'll go on a case-by-case basis. We may go, some routes might have a snow location or snow route where we go to maybe a corner pickup, but we can't get down that street, cover the hills or something. But that's all done through contact with the parent. Help the location to determine for pickup or drop off.
So as Jerry had made mention earlier during his presentation, it may be nothing happening up in North County, but in Ashton, it may be 3 foot of snow, right? There's 526 square miles, I think, of the St. Louis metro area that we cover on a daily basis. So, and with being 70 drivers short for snowplows, you may have some districts who have been cleared. They may have their own, like city workers that go out and clear snow. Excuse me. And so they may go ahead and have school. You may have other districts who have more country routes outside the city, up there behind on the hills and behind Six Flags. They may not get their roads cleared right away. And we have 22 partner districts. So we'll go in and get into a little bit more about how you want to look at or which ones you're looking for. You need to know what routes, what school districts you drive for. So the decision to cancel school is taken very seriously. School closure decisions are made for the entire district, not specific areas. That goes back to what I was saying. SSD is large, it's huge. Some districts or some areas of the district may be okay, some may not, but they're not going to say, okay, the people in the north part of the district have to go to school, but people in the south part, no. It's one or the other. This means closing may occur when conditions might not seem particularly bad in your immediate area. If possible, the decision to close schools is made in 1994. However, as quickly as weather changes, like Jerry was telling you, we may need, they may decide to go ahead and have school, and then, I don't know, 2 hours later, ice hits. And they're trying to call it before, they'll make notification before 5:30 AM. We also know, I wasn't here at the time, but I experienced it at the last district where you get kids to school, they don't think anything's gonna happen, no advisory, no warnings. And you get kids to school, and about the time you get the elementary kids there, it starts sleeting or freezing rain. Get them there, you gotta get them home, right? We can't just leave them there. If the field conditions are unsafe, I'm gonna skip that. That's for parents who are sending their kids to school. But in the past, when inclement weather made it unsafe to go to school, the district canceled school for a snow day. Department of Early and Secondary Education approved the option of aid for alternate methods of instruction. That was all, that's a burden from the pandemic, right? So with SSD, the school board decided there's gonna be 4 snow days built in. Anything beyond the 4th snow day will be an AMI day. So that's where they're not gonna go to school, but they have to do virtual learning. Daddy's looking at me like, what are you talking? So that way they still get the credit for going to school. It's gonna affect us, obviously, because if they do an AMI day, I'm not even sure how they're going to work on that.
Don't touch.
But you obviously will be driving to get them to school, right? So, on an AMI virtual learning day, families will receive communication from the district as well as specific instruction from the child's teacher. Implementing AMI virtual learning days gives us the opportunity to continue learning on the inclement weather days. The district may dismiss early when winter weather arrives quickly and unexpectedly. We talked about that. We get into school and then winter weather starts happening, we have to get them home. It makes it especially difficult with 22 different school districts plus SSD because they all want to go home at the same time. Can't happen, right? We don't have enough people. And that's time period where we may be getting them home at the regular time or even later, depending on the road conditions. Make certain that you have arrangements made for it, like you have to work late or you can't get there and the kids get sent home early. You have kids anywhere within the area. You can make sure they have someone there to care for them. So students, as we said, there's SSC has students and staff in 22 partner districts across St. Louis County. Each district makes the best decision they can when considering the impact of inclement weather is having on their area. SSD covers 520 square miles of the district and differ dramatically from one corner of the country to the other. We talked about that. I know that they're within the central corridor. There's what, 3 or 4 different school districts that are rarely closed because their students live close or they get dropped off by parents. There's only like 1 or 2 buses that go there. So you need to know what districts you drive for. Some people may have the SSD and a different partner district. So when we get to talking about being notified of school closures, that'll come in, be important to know. So SSD families with students in partner districts and staff who work in their partner district building should always refer to their partner district for guidance on inclement weather days. Time and communication with our district families is always priority, but especially important in emergency school closings. If SSD schools are forced to close or dismiss early due to inclement weather or other factors, families will be notified in the following ways. So district phone call, text, email, December the 1st. On December the 1st, SSD is going to do a test on this system. They're going to call you. They're going to send out texts and emails. If you don't receive that, then you need to let somebody know. You can actually text the word subscribe to 67587 and update any information you need to update so that they have the current information. Because we all know if we don't hear that school's closed and we get out. I live 35 minutes away, and if I have to drive 35 minutes and then find out I get here, I didn't need to be here. So I'm usually always here anyway. So make sure that we have the correct information. If you don't get that text, call, email, or text, email, call, then update your information. Local media, so the local TV channels and the
What the heck is that?
TV.
1973. I'm saying.
I had one like that when I was in high school.
About my TV.
I had one like that in the 90s. I
I
loved it.
I still have one.
Then also websites, so the district website, Facebook, Twitter. You can get all the information from any of those, and then also from the SSD information line, 314-989-8450. Real quickly, Kenny, I wanted me to make sure that he expressed this and the rest of the management team, especially with the inclement weather coming up. We know how difficult it is out there on those roads. You guys do an awesome job of it. We want to thank you and everybody for the job that you do and the commitment that you make.
Questions?
Hold on, we're not done. We have a couple more things real quick.
We'll call these a few public service announcements. If they apply to you, please make the necessary adjustments. It's been reported on several occasions that we have bus aides sleeping on routes. Remember, you are clocked in. Conversations, be mindful of the conversations that you have in the building, on the bus. We were watching a video the other day. Driver monitors conversation, it's not appropriate on the bus. And they have students on the bus. So also here in the building as well, you know, people are in earshot of it. So be mindful of the conversation.
I want to just point out too, I've worked with students with disabilities for most of my life. Sometimes you think some of the students aren't cognitively able to understand what you're saying, and they may not be able to, but they will definitely repeat what you said when they get home. So just be aware that while you might not think the students understand, they can definitely mimic what you said. And just be careful.
Bus cleanliness. Please make sure you're cleaning your bus, but even more when you're on a trip. I had a driver tell me they found a molded bag, a sandwich bag in the glove box. If you use a bus for a trip, please make sure you clean up after yourself. Fuel cards. Make sure you put your fuel cards in them. If we forget, I say we, management staff, because I go out there and fuel, Mike, anybody that will go fuel. If we forget, that's on us, but you need to put your fuel cards in the window. Last,
Real quick, wait, on that subject, Pete's gonna be in and out for a while, okay? So there may be only one mechanic here. Give them time. If somebody said, we're happy, I don't mind at all. Kevin's been out there, Tony and Ginger, we're all out there, and we're happy to fill it up. So if you need fuel and you see one of us out on the lot, just honk at us and tell us to come over.
let's see.
Do not leave until you are told to.
That's one thing. Exactly. Bumper to bumper, do not block the crosswalks. But even so, you still can pull bumper to bumper. So we can get all the buses in. And that stops the teachers from walking in between the buses. They need to go around and use the crosswalks to get over to the side. I think that's all I have.
I'm gonna add one real quick thing, okay? We've had some incidents here recently where there's been heavy bags on the back of these wheelchairs. And people have gotten injured, not only our fellow coworkers, but other people, I know the nurses don't like it if they're assigned a nurse. I've talked to them and they give me the look like, who the heck do you think you are? But it's all about the safety for the student, right? Well, these bags are heavy. Well, I understand that. If you put them on the lift, take the bags off, hand it to whoever's on the bus, they can store them safely somewhere. When you get to where they're going, don't put them back on until you get the wheelchair on the ground. And then you can hand the bags out to the caregiver, to the nurse. They can do what they want with them. You don't want to transport with those bags on the back of the wheelchairs.
One more thing, backing, please, if you have an aide on your bus, aide must get up and walk to the back of the bus to back. Not get up and stand right where they're at. Yeah, you got it, come on back. So if you have an aide, make sure you're walking aides, make sure you're walking to the back of the bus to assist the family.
Well, that's what
My aide always shows on the ground.
Yeah,
Please allow your aide to get off the bus.
With that being said, you have so many seats at the back of the bus, and you got wheelchairs, you can go on and so forth, you can't walk to the complete back.
That's
of
where
the
they
bus.
want you to be.
You need
That is
something
where they
to
want you
hold on.
Hold on to the handle like.
Why can't on the back of the bus?
Put over there.
And or, I was grabbing, got the.
You have a wheelchair lift, you've got a handle right there that you can grab hold of, and you've got the emergency door handle.
Okay, fine.
So if there's that much space, I mean, you gotta let it. There's something comfortable. They shouldn't be using their back windows and back up in. They should be using that in. You're not.
Right, so right. That's what the mirror is for.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and drivers, we love you dearly, but please give us a chance to get back to where the seats are before we can go.
Thanks,
So, I agree with you.
Unless you don't like it.
That's all I had, Kevin, this.
So real quick, I'm gonna try to be quick. Mileage card. How many times I gotta keep talking about mileage cards? Well, I'm done talking about it. If they're not right, they're gonna get turned back to you. If you don't correct them, you'll see me. We'll start doing remedial training, whatever it takes to get these mileage cards right. I'm tired of these mileage cards. Teamwork makes the dream work. If you're on that bus, and you are a driver monitor team, you are a team.
18.
I don't care if you don't like each other. I don't care if you can't get along with each other. You're on that bus to be a team.
That is your job.
What you do off that bus
It's your business.
is your business. What you do on that bus is my business. No said on that. Now for the good stuff. 21st, they'll be installing our vending machine. That don't know what cookie day is, you'll learn. on December 19th.
I hope you don't have the ridiculous price.
I don't know that.
If they're gonna have a ridiculous price, they might keep put it.
But just be aware that by adding those vending machines, that's what helps us fund social things that we want to try to do, because we get a portion of that, of what that we would support social. Which means I'll probably be getting the seats and we'll start getting the social community back together. Now we're gonna- Yeah, so we're adopting a family for Christmas, a rather large family, we adopt them every year for Christmas. We'll get a list out of like the items and stuff for the family members. Those people that participate and bring in a gift will get a,
You'll be put into a drawing and we're gonna raffle off the template. I make either It'll be a Christmas somewhere.
So for those that participate, they'll be entered into a raffle to get the tumbler. That's all I had.
Make sure you sign in on the sign sheet.
Everybody good?
Right.